really has. And I was thinking about the fact that I was going to be doing this, right? And then and for a moment I got really slidey, you know, and I got pictures of butterflies and colors, and I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to do all this. And then I went, it's probably not really me being me, right? Because the fact that I am here today, and even the experience I have just had today, right, was something that I can't put down to just, oh, aren't you so lucky? it definitely wasn't that. And I'm with an organization today that had reached out directly to me. You know, we need you to come, and I need you to talk to my people and this stuff. So I've been talking with them all week, and it came out the blue, and it came in, as I would say, kind of like a just-in-time moment for me, because right then, because of the journey, I had definitely got to a place where, one, I didn't think I could do this anymore. I didn't think I had the ability to do it anymore. Like I was doubting my own skill set, right? So got to the place where I doubted if I was even any good anymore. And then there was the mental capacity to be able to do it. So there's one thing where, you know, we suffer with imposter syndrome, and when imposter syndrome gets really loud and it takes over, you believe everything it says to you. And I got to a point in my career where it wasn't just the imposter saying things to me, it was people who I looked up to. And so when I started to hear those voices, and those voices were echoing the constant sense of maybe I'm not good enough, it really brought me to a crash. And I would never have thought, journeying as an agilist with all the things I know to be true, an experience I would hit. I never thought there was going to be a crash for me. And last year was probably the hardest year in my entire life. So, you know, what I expected to be a very different year turned out totally different. And I had to make some really hard choices. And that is one of the things I realized when I pulled back after I got out of the fog. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to have to make a choice now of, do I still believe in this stuff? Like, do I still believe in Agile? Do I believe in it? Do I still believe in these frameworks I've told everybody are good? And I realized I really did. And when I checked myself, like checked myself, nobody's there, just me, myself, and I having a conversation, I realized it was the framework's core, right? That idea of empiricism that I was experiencing in my everyday life. Because here was complexity that I couldn't get around, and I had to figure out how to do every single day when the pattern wasn't there for it anymore, because everything had shifted. And here's one of the things I realized, this stuff really works. Because what we're teaching people to do is to pause, take a moment, be transparent that you're not sure where the next thing is going to be or what it should be, but you're willing to make an experiment and make a next best move. Mm-hmm. And I'm living it now, right? And it's powerful that something that we can use with technology and corporate organizations can be something you can utilize in everyday life. So, you know, it's this thing where there is what I learned was there is a projection of me that people see. Because I've been around the industry so long, oh, Lizzy this, oh, Lizzy this, oh, Lizzy this, oh, Lizzy this. But there were very few people who ever really got to see me. Mm-hmm. Right? So people saw, oh, you're Agile Lady, oh, Bearded Eagle, and all that stuff. But I am very grateful that this community brought me some amazing human beings. So when we think about individuals and interactions over processes and tools, oh my God, I have met some amazing individuals who have chosen to interact with me, not for let's do this project, let's go make this money, but just because they're great, beautiful human beings too. And when COVID hit, so and I have to go back so everybody can kind of get the story, is when COVID hit, COVID brought this sense of, oh my God, is this true? That's what COVID did, right? To everybody kind of experienced that. Different people, it hit them in different ways, but COVID hit everything that I held dear. So COVID hit my business, COVID hit my sense of well-being, COVID hit my family, COVID hit my money, COVID hit my health, right? So all those facets of dimensions, right, that circle your life, all of them got hit. And when I started the show with Trisha, it was a sense of I need to do something, right, about all these feelings I'm feeling, because I was consumed with guilt, right? When the whole George Floyd thing, how I thought I have destroyed the lives of my sons by bringing them to this country. Why did I do this? Oh my, so I was under so much guilt and couldn't think, and I was consumed with it. I was crying all the time. I was panicking all the time and having these panic attacks over these bad choices I believe that I had made, right? And we started a conversation, and Trisha said, you know, why don't we just like have this conversation? I'm sure other people are thinking this way. Let's just do it. And you know, Trisha's like, let's just do it. Come on. And so that's how that started. And it became a life source for me, right? That, okay, I'm going to do this. So today I'm going to think, and today I'm going to share, and I'm talking to somebody I trust. And yeah, we'll bring the rest of the world in, but it didn't really feel like the rest of the world was there. It was just like me and Trisha having this conversation, right? And it was great. So it started to bring back to me an essence of living. And like, okay, you know, well then I can't change the choices I made, but maybe I can change some stuff for other people. Maybe I can bring awareness to where people can really start to do something and realize it's not going to be overnight, and we can't pretend it's not there. So we have to talk about it, right? So let's talk. So that's where that whole podcast came about. It was a lifeline for me, right? To find my next best move in America, because I had woken up and I'm a Black female.
Yes.
And that sounds so crazy, but when you haven't focused in on, as I call it, your packaging, you just focused on what you do and who you are. It's weird when all of a sudden that's what everybody's hitting you with. Right? And you're like, well, what is, well, what does that mean? What, you know, and in our world here that we're in, this agile world, although there is a lot of us now, I mean, there's a lot of us, there's a lot of Black Scrum Masters, like we're all over the world, right? There's still none of us necessarily representing in leading spaces in the industry, right? And it's not that we couldn't, it's not that we don't have the ability, but there's not many of us that are in those spaces. So when I began my journey, that everybody knows me, you know, everybody knew me, Lizzy, the CST, the trainer and all that. The only reason I ever took that path was a white woman, Carol McEwen. Carol McEwen said to me while I was having lunch at a Scrum gathering, Lizzy, you should apply to become a CST. We need more women. She never once said to me, you should apply to be a CST because you're a Black woman. And there wasn't, we need more women. And I could get with that because I'm all about woman power, you know, but I was like, really? Do you think I could do that? Yes, you can do it. Apply, start the journey. You can do it. So because of her, that's why I started that journey, because it wasn't even a thought in my mind. I was cool being a consultant, doing what I was doing. And it wasn't this thing that I was aspiring to. It was an idea she put in my head and said I could represent more women. And I'm like, yeah, take the men down. Let's do this. So that was where I was at. Let's do this girl thing, right? And so I started the journey. I had no idea that the journey to become a CST was going to be so nasty. Mm-hmm. So here's this thing. I found this world of Agilists and Scrum, and I loved it. And it was so inclusive. And it was, everybody had ideas, and everybody was smart, and they shared their ideas with you. And it was, wow, it's very open space. So I got into the Agile world when Tobias was still around, when Lisa Atkins was just kind of getting her feet and finding what is my voice that I want to have. That's when I got into the Agile world, right? Mm-hmm. So I sat down at dinner with her, listening to her talk about all the men in the industry, and she's going to find her mark. I remember that conversation at an Italian restaurant. Mm-hmm. So I look now and I see she made her mark. She is known as like the coach extraordinaire. She's put coaching in Scrum to a whole different place. She built a great company, all these fabulous things. And she's a fabulous person. So understand, I was surrounded by these great people. And when I sat down and I talked with these people, they embraced Lizzy. So I had no idea that when I decided to go on the journey, I was going to meet something else. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for it at all. If you had told me that this fabulous community had underseeded things going on it, and they weren't really about people who look like me getting too far, I'd have told you were a liar. I said, no, not this community. No, not us. We're not like that. It's very different here. If you come here, you can be here for life because they don't mind if you grow old. They like old people too. It was like, yeah, this is a place you could just die here, right? So I just thought it was the best place ever to be. I loved this place. I told everybody about it, and I was passionate about it because I'm looking at what the stuff done. I'd already seen how Scrum brought people a voice when they didn't have a voice. And I just thought this thing was so amazing, right? And so I come into the Scrum world, and I meet this guy, I marry this guy, I build this business. So Scrum brought me this whole new life in America. Because Scrum came to me the year after I got to America and got my papers so I could work. That's when Scrum showed up in my life, right? So I'd already had a great project management career in the UK. I'd ran major billion-pound programs. I had a reputation. I worked for, BT. I'd worked for the NHS. I'd done the big things, built a career, earned really well. So when I came here and had to start over, Scrum was my over door. Okay. Right? So it was this new door to new stuff that I have to admit, like I tell everybody, I didn't like it to begin with. I thought it was some American mumbo jumbo, right? Like, what are these people doing? This is why the it is. You can't do things like this. Are they crazy? That was my philosophy, these Americans. But when I saw what it did to people, I was like floored. Wow. Making people act like that. It's making people talk like that. It's giving people a voice. It's making people want to team with each other. It's making people want to stay late after work and have a smile on their face. This stuff is doing this. Oh, teach me this. And that's what, sucked me into it, was how it affected people. And it's one of the reasons I have such a lean into the people side, where there's other people who are really into the technology, right? And they're hardcore in the technology, or they're hardcore in the processes. Why I'm so hardcore in the people was because of the people. that I follow this track.
Right.
That's the thing for me. It was the people. It was how it affected people in the workplace, their lives. They were happy. And I wanted to be part of something like that, because my past career didn't have the effect where you were happy at work. It had the effect where you're going to work and earn your money, but you're definitely not going to be happy about it. So this was new, and I thought, wow, what a gift. I literally thought that about it, that this is a gift. So that's what made me want to keep pursuing, and most people don't know that.
Yeah.
And that was the reason. It was like, oh, wow, look, you can just be you, because people in the community, they weren't all dressed up and suited and booted. They were casual. They got jeans on, trainers, sandals. Sometimes they don't even look like they own an iron, but it's okay. They're still there. And it's like, wow, this is a whole new world to me. Because my career, I always had worn either a skirt suit with stiletto heels, or I got a pantsuit on, right? Suited and booted with, custom made shirt with cuffs. I mean, presenting for the corporate world. Do you understand? That's what I was used to, that kind of figure. And here there was all this relaxation, but yet there's genius. It was awesome. It really was. And so I got consulting gigs, and I remember the first gig I ever tried to go for, and I didn't get it, right? Because he asked me about the Agile values. And I really didn't know how to talk about those, and I really didn't know what they were. And I saw it. He goes, but you seem very passionate. So I tell you what, you just need to go do some more learning, really dig into it, because I think you're going to be successful. You've got the passion for it. Never forget that, right? And I was like, oh, I got to go learn more about this stuff, really understand it. So when I got the opportunity to now go work for what was at the time like the Agile consultancy practice, ThoughtWorks, it was like, yes. And the joke was, I had an offer from ThoughtWorks and I had an offer from CNA to be a director. Now, I had always planned to do the corporate climb, right? So the CNA director role made sense. It's a good career move. But ThoughtWorks, Agile. I get to be around these people who've been in it, and I can really get to learn it, So, and I remember Devon said to me, well, you said you really want to do Agile. You've got the opportunity, so choose. If you go and be a director, not a bad thing, but is that really you're going to be happy doing it? And I was like, it's good money, great benefits. But people paying me good money too. So, I mean, both of the money was good. It wasn't like bad money either place. It was all good money, right? So, in essence, I'm not going and doing Agile and going to my family's going to suffer. We're still going to be good. So I made that choice. And so I joined ThoughtWorks. And that was where, happened for me. Yeah, I got to work with Jim Highsmith and plan stuff, design transformations, and all this kind of stuff, and worked with some really amazing minds. But life is dodgy, right?
Yeah.
Because while I'm there, I become violently ill and don't know why. So I'm there, I'm making a name for myself in the company. I'm selling things that have never been sold before because I know we can do it. And I can understand how we can run Scrum and we can run Lean together and we can deliver these beautiful things. So I'm delivering and selling like stuff like crazy. And I go to Caterpillar and I'm doing a presentation and I collapse. And I'm rushed to hospital. Don't know what's wrong with me. Don't know what's going on. Right? Peak of my career. And boom, my body decides to go left. Right? So it's like, when I sit back and I look at my journey, it don't really make no logical sense. Okay? Because it's like, what is going on? How can stuff be so high? And then all of a sudden there's this, right? Yeah, just dip that will come from like, from. I'm healthy, I'm in shape. I was in shape. I was like a cute size 4. So, and I worked out all the time. So, like, what's going on? And I remember them saying to me, it looks like something's going on with your ovaries and it doesn't look right, but nobody wants to say what it is. Right. And we think, we're going to keep you here, get you settled. And then when you go back home, because I understand I was at Caterpillar in Peoria. I don't live in Peoria. I'm on the road. Right. So I got to wait till I go back to my actual doctors now where I live to figure out like, what's wrong with me? What's going on? Nobody has an answer. When I finally get to the doctor, nobody can give me an answer. Well, we're not sure, but take this drug. We're not sure. Take this drug. It got to the point where I was on morphine.
Wow.
Be able to just, get up, walk around. And of course, when you're working for a consultancy company, hardcore, not billable when you're sick. So what does an organization do to you? They want to put you on workers' comp. Workers' comp is not your salary.
Nope.
Nowhere near so. Right. And understand there's no bearded eagle at this point. It's not. It's just, he got a job. I had a job. Right. Good jobs, but it's a job. It's not a business and other people working and, bring you in money kind of thing. And so I ended up having to take that time out. And I remember how much I felt like, how could they do this to me after everything? And, you sit down and you count up the many millions you brought to the organization. And they want to do this to you. It's like, what is that? Right. But still, I really wanted to do this stuff. Like I still believed in it. And then I ended up going through 3 years of battling with this thing that nobody knew what it was, until finally I had an emergency surgery and they found out, oh, you have acute endometriosis. And by the way, your ovaries have totally dissolved. And if we hadn't taken them, you might have actually died because the rest of you was just dissolving.
Wow.
So it was like, what? This has been going on. This is what's happening to me. You told me it was in my head and there was nothing wrong with me. And I remember the doctor, the head of the surgery, sat down and said, well, this isn't really normally something that women like you have. Do you mean women like me? Well, it's not really Black women thing. Normally we see these conditions in white women. So we wouldn't have suspected that this was what was going on with you. So again, oh, there's a thing. There's a thing. So I don't get the same health care. You don't run all the tests on me. You don't, because of the way I'm packaged. That makes a difference. Wow. Okay. And that put me into a really bad place because I had wanted to have another child. Right. There was this dream to have this child. And now that dream is impossible. Because you need ovaries, eggs, to make those kind of things happen. And mine are gone. And they didn't freeze them. There was nothing because everything was dissolved and destroyed. So there was nothing that could be harvested in any way. And so I had to go through feeling like, oh my God, my womanhood's gone. And now I'm in surgical menopause. So I'm having hot flashes all the time and I've got to find a way to manage that. And, this is my 30s. I'm supposed to be about other things here, not dealing with this. So again, this challenge from nowhere to say, okay, what are you going to do now? What's going to be your next best move? So you know what I did? I went and worked for ThoughtWorks Competition, Valtech. When I got better, I went and worked for Valtech. Right? And my career again. So when it comes to transformations, that's my jam. Right? I can help you transform. So I'm doing it. I'm in these big organizations. I'm selling in these deals. It's working. I'm doing training for organizations and all this stuff. And there's still this, okay, let's do this. Let's become this trainer. And, I've already trained like 200 and something people this year already. So, and I got feedback forms, so I could definitely submit now. In the right place to do this. This is all the, so stuff, as much as stuff was going left, there were still opportunities to pursue the new dreams. And that's something you always have to look for. So when we think about transparency and inspection, in order to inspect, you have to pause. And it's really important, no matter what you're going through, you give yourself time to pause so you can really take a look at what's happening. Because if you never pause, it's like you're on a moving train and you can't see anything. It's just all blur, right?
Right.
But if you give yourself the pause, you get to figure out, okay, where am I? Okay, it looks like I can do this. And you can make then a decision to make that next move.
Yeah.
And that's something I think we have to give ourselves, that gift. Give yourself a gift of pause. Because what happens is when you don't, life will take you in directions and you have nothing to buoyance back because you haven't built a resilience in yourself to just hold for a sec. Right? So instead of being able to hold, you fold because you don't have the muscle. So it's like we tell teams, the more you practice, the better you'll get it and you'll start to get the rhythm. Well, the more you practice pause in your personal life and have that ability to just look at what's going on, it will give you that resilience, even though you don't realize that's what you're building at the time. Yeah. So then the next thing comes up, you've got this ability to make this pause and make that next best move, and you can do it. So Valtech was great. I was having fun. Oh man, I was having fun. I'm on the road and then boom, car crash. 2 women decide they need to knock into my car while I'm driving. Why? I don't know. Don't know why. But there I am, right? And I'm injured on the road for another company. And I need to take some time out for physiotherapy. And what does the company say? Well, do you think there's anything you can do to make yourself billable while you're doing a physio, Lizzie?
Oh, God.
What? Hold on a second. So I was on the road for you, okay? And during a car crash, like if I wasn't on the road for you, I wouldn't have been there for those women to hit me. And now I'm messed up. And you want me to find something to be billable for? So now I'm getting calls. Listen to me. Every week. Lizzie, were you able to find anything to be billable for? Lizzie, do you have anything that you...
Wow.
That is crazy. This cannot be what's going on. Enter stage. Sally Atlanta. Sally Atlanta comes into my life and she goes, oh, I've been watching. I wondered, would you be interested in doing this? I'm like, you know what? I think I would. Because I don't like the way these people are treating me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, okay. You know, I think why don't I do that? And at that time, Devonna just had this horrible racist experience at USAA through Tech Systems, who had decided they didn't want to pay him the same as anybody else. So he's training everybody and everybody else is getting paid like 3 times the amount of money and they wouldn't give him a raise. So, you know, you're looking and you're like, what is this? And that's when we made that decision. It was like, let's start a company. Let's start something, right? Where we can, even if, and I remember I said, even if we only bill ourselves out for a fraction of what all these other companies used to bill us out for, we'd still be good.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be good. So, you know, why don't we just, let's do that. So that's how Bearded Eagle came about. It was Centage at the time. So we started with a company called Centage. Centage was the name for the idea of synergy before Bearded Eagle came about, right? So he took a gig and started working that, and I took stuff with Sally, and I was working that, and it was like, you know, kind of controlling your own destiny now, because it's not somebody else driving it. Right. You're able to really but I'm saying it's the stuff that's supposed to have killed you, slayed you, was the stuff that led you to the next door.
Indeed.
Because if all that stuff hadn't happened, I wouldn't have taken Sally upon the offer and done that consulting stuff, I just wouldn't have done it because I would have stayed with the company.
Well, I'm going
And
to take a pause
go ahead.
here for a second. Thinking about all the pausing you're encouraging us to do. And I wanted to check with Kim to see if our folks here have any questions for you before we continue on your journey.
Hi, Nico. I'm not seeing any questions right now, just comments on, oh, no, they didn't, and the disrespect. So
Now that comment was, oh, no, they didn't.
Yes.
All right. I just want to check in because I can't really see the chat. So yes. So Lizzy, you were talking about building.
Yeah, so then Centage is formed, and that's when the opportunity came up to go work with J&J. So left Sally and then went to work for J&J and went in to do supposedly coaching and consulting for them, and then it morphed into a director position. And then I was running the medical devices division for all web across the world. Right? Who would have known, right? And check this out, able to work from home. Okay, able to work from home.
When was that?
And so this was like, kids were little. So this is back in 2009, I want 2000, yeah, about 2009-ish, 9, 10, somewhere around in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around in there, because I was still living in the Chicagoland area at the time. Right. And I got a job there. So then I got Devon a job there. So then he was doing consumer. So
Nice.
it was like we would be home, and then we'd get to go on the road. So we could be on the road together. We got to go to Europe to deal with companies that were out there because they were part of our portfolios. I mean, it was like living a life, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you got kids. When you're running huge portfolios like that across different time zones that just keep going all day and all night, and when you're a workaholic who is not in the recovery program, children get neglected. And Sarah, who is now working for PricewaterhouseCoopers as a consultant, right? She put a little note under the door, "Mommy will we see you today." Yeah, it was like, and that's when I realized, as great as I loved my job. I understand that. I loved it. But, ooh, was it worthwhile? If it was going to, I'm not going to see the kid. I'm in the same house with these kids. Right? But I'm not seeing them because there's, fire after fire, managing this, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's when I look back now to all my children are now grown, and I've got grandbaby. And I can say to people, I've been in so many different spaces, worked in so many different levels. I know what it's like to have to war with wanting something for you and wanting something for your family, but still pulling back and saying, but I want to be better for my family. And that's a war females have all the time when we decide we're going to make moves and we're gonna achieve. What about babies? And there's some who choose just, I'm not going to do the whole family thing because they don't even want to deal with that tug of war that
Mm-hmm.
exists all the time,
Yeah.
and we were already going up against so much. So you can't be the one who looks like a slacker.
Yes.
Right. Where others will take time off, and you can't even appear to do that because it doesn't work. Because there's already perceived sense of you're not going to work as hard as other people. There's just all these things. There's these messages that people have in their head about you, even when they don't articulate it. It's living there, you know, and that's the struggle that we're constantly having to find steps through. Because even when you choose to ignore it, it has a way of showing back up. And it'll show back up again in a different venue, so to speak, right? So it won't be the same boss or the same voice, but it will show back up because it's part of the journey. You don't get to strip off being Black. We can't take it off like a suit. So there's always this sense of it's going to show up again, right? So if I fast forward to forming Bearded Eagle and it working and us not being confident enough to let anybody know we own the company. So all the ads that go out, all the ads were always all white. They never had anybody of color in the ads, and things that we put up, we just didn't do that because we're trying to build something, right? And we know we can be a hindrance. So even when we show up for engagements, we never want to let anybody know we were the owners. We were just consultants, right? And we'd have to get back and talk to our managers and then get back to you. 4 years. 4 years. We went to a sales training by a man called Peachy. And he said, if people don't want to do business with you because you're Black, you don't want to do business with them either. It's time you put your faces out there. Old Italian man. And that's when our faces started to go out. But what I wasn't realizing was that in our community of Agilists, we were creating animosity because of the success we were having.
Wow.
So we didn't realize us being successful was messing with people. Right? And I remember when I went in front of the TAC and a member said to me, do you know it's a privilege to be able to earn at this level?
Oh, just let everybody know what that means.
So the TAC is the training body, or the training vetters. It's a set of people in the Scrum Alliance who vet people to say whether or not they can be trainers. So they decide if you qualify to be a trainer or not. You got to go in front of these people and they'll assess you and decide if you're good enough. Right. And I remember sitting and hearing that and looking around the room and saying, is nobody going to stop that from happening? Everybody's like, oh, like nobody just heard that what that was just said to me, like, that's okay. And I remember the tears. And, you know, I'm British, right? So I have a really good handle of not showing emotion because it's not kind of what we do, right? So I coughed it all down. I remember that and thinking, okay, all right, fine, okay. You know, and I didn't respond. I didn't even react. I just let it hang. And then the next word was, you know, if Devon were to become CST today, now at the point, Devon had already got his CST, right? A long time before me. He wouldn't qualify. What? Because of course, when Devon originally came through, it was what I call the old guard, right? So the people on TAC were older people who've been around the community a long time. So they knew about him being in the community and that kind of stuff, right? And they went on the merit of what he was saying, not what he was. And so I realized if he were to do it again, it wouldn't be about what he was saying. It would be about what he was. and somehow you don't qualify for that right. That was the first wound I had from our community. That was real deep. That wound was real deep. Took a long time for that wound to heal for me. And it creates such distrust. So even when I became a CST, I still didn't trust the community anymore. Not the whole community. I really didn't, because I remembered. And I remembered there was none of the things I believed we held dear. The respect. There was none of that being shown. It was messy. But I said, okay, change the world anyway. Forget them. Change the world. So that's what I aim to do. So one of the reasons you used to see me travel so much was I was on this mission to really change the world. And I thought I could, I thought I could get enough people engaged in other parts of the world where it didn't matter what I looked like.
Right.
So that's why I spent so much time in India. That's why you saw me out in the Asia region, because there my color wasn't a problem. Now, with some people, the fact I was a woman was a problem, but I had experience with being a woman problem my whole life, right? So I know how to deal with the woman problem. I got experience with that. I can handle the woman problem, and you just had got to prove your point, and it works.
Right. Right.
So that was why it was my thing to go there, because there was always that sense of acceptance, not the same push and fight, so I would say to anybody today who's thinking about, I'm really passionate about doing this and I love what I do and I want to go up and I want to do more, I would say go and find places where they are open to you for real, not for what they can get from you. And at this point, I would say it's time for us to build our own. And I remember when somebody came to me 5 years ago, and said, I think you should really start thinking about a Black Agile movement. I was like, why would we don't want to do that? Why do we don't need to do that. We don't want to form different, there's enough stuff. We need to show that we'll work with them. No, you don't understand. We need our own, because they're never really going to give us space. And I remember so many people saying that to me. I mean, saying, no. But having gone through the experiences I've gone through, I'm very much believing it's something we have to do. There's got to be a place where we can go and people respect us, right? And support us for real. And here's the wonderful thing, our ethos that we hold. And so as Agile in Color, we hold the ethos of Agile, right? Which means the other things that often come with being Black and trying to work together, crab in the bucket mentality, we've evolved enough that that's not a problem with us, right? Which means there is so much that we can make happen, so much that we can achieve, right? The reason today now that I've aligned with Jeff Sutherland, so I'm now doing Agile education courses, right? Which is the stuff that's been designed by him. Is because that man always treated me good. Always. When I was going through a hell last year and I was depressed and suicidal, that man was good to me. And he didn't have to be, because there was no benefit to him, because I wasn't training. I wasn't using stuff. I wasn't bringing him no money, but he was just good to me. And I'd never forget when people are good to me. Right? You always remember that, because people don't have to be. It's a choice that people make to be kind to somebody else. It's a choice that people make to hold out a hand. They don't have to. So when somebody takes the time to put the hand out and say, I want to be kind and I'm here for you, I pay such attention to that, right? It's one of the reasons I love Trisha for life. Even if she goes to some really crazy stuff, right? Is because when nobody was watching, she was constantly calling and checking in with me and making sure I was okay. right? And there was no benefit for that. She just made sure I was okay. And when I was like, I don't think I can get online today and do a show, I don't feel like I do. Okay, take care of you today. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know, there was this support. Everybody needs somebody. And in our community,
Amen.
right? In our community, and with us being who we are, we need as many real white people that love us for who we are in our corners. Because they help to hold us up when we feel like we're going to fall over. And it's not about people putting money on the table for you. It's the words. It's that love that comes across to you. It's that ear that will listen, even if it's not always fully understood, but I want to understand it. Even if I don't, I'm going to be here anyway. That's beautiful.
Yes. Counter
That's,
all the negativity.
yeah, it's a gift. And it doesn't matter how bad stuff gets. There's always going to be a gift on the road waiting for you. But that comes back to taking the pause to find it so you notice the gift. And we can't say everybody's the same. Everybody's not the same. There are some bad eggs out there. Yeah. But it's not the whole dozen. Right?
No.
It's
Not the
not the
whole
whole,
dozen.
it's not the whole dozen. It's not the whole dozen. So there's still an egg that you can utilize to bind something together. And that's what we need. We need to have people around who can help us bind things together, because there's stuff that comes that falls apart, and you need somebody to help you bind it back together until it can heal, right? And it can be there, so now you can walk on that thing and you could utilize that thing. It's important. And that takes energy, right? Because it takes energy to give to people that way.
Yes.
But I think it's worthwhile, you know? And if we are going to be different, and if we are going to truly be agile, then we really have to care about individuals, because you can't have a decent interaction with somebody if you don't connect. So we've got to be willing to keep making connections. And maybe this one don't stick and it falls apart. Okay, still make another move, make another connection, because maybe that one will be the one that sticks.
Yes. Yep.
So don't give up. That's what I would say to everybody. Don't give up. There are many avenues in this world and in this industry. Find you an avenue where you're going to find people who care and people who are willing to be an egg for you, to bind you up when you need it, and align with those people and build something different. Because the world needs us to be agile, and we need to keep being empirical because the world keeps changing and we keep having challenges. So we've got to get better at being able to be transparent that, hey, we don't know what the hell is going on right now or what we need to do, but we're going to find that next best move. And that's what I'd leave everybody with. Keep moving until you find your next best move, because it is one step away. And you need somebody in your corner when you don't feel you can lift that leg to make that step, to tell you that you can and to hold you up while you lift your foot. So we've got to still build community.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Amen. Preaching to the choir. And the one thing I'll always say is that for people who join us here, who feel like they didn't know that there were any other Black people in the Agile space, and it was like they thought they were alone on an island. You're not alone. You have a community now. You have us here. You can connect with any of us. You can connect with Lizzy and anybody who has joined us here. We are your community, and we're here to hold you up. And we appreciate you, Lizzy, for being here, being constant, even when we don't see your face. You're here. So thank you. Yes, and I see Javessa wants to connect. So yes, people, please drop your LinkedIn in the chat so people can connect. I will, I know that we normally try to at least save the chat so I can get names. But we'll definitely connect with you all on LinkedIn. Leslie, is there anything that you want to share before we wrap? What's your next best move?
So my next best move is now back at training again. So I'm training again, and I have dates in my calendar for November and December. So if you are looking to want to learn about Scrum and understand some of the practices and get a certification with the guy who actually invented it, because as many people, I know that, you know, there's the whole co-creator, but when you really know the story, you know, just the one who created it. So, you know, it's just, that's the real. So he's really taken the time, because he still does the stuff and does the research, to build a curriculum that really helps you to get some practices that we would coach you in, but we wouldn't necessarily teach you in a class. And they're now being taught in classes. And that's awesome. So, you know, I taught some classes this week and really dove into those practices. And it was amazing what it uncovered for these organizations. Like it was amazing, the stuff that came up with it. So I'm excited about that. So check it out. It is on Bearded Eagle Virtual. So you go to beardedeaglevirtual.com. You will see the classes I'm doing, and all the classes have a payment plan because it is a luxury price. Those courses ain't, you know, they're not your garden variety pricing on those courses. Okay, so it's a, you know, it's kind of like you're going into a luxury brand of training. But I do have now a payment plan mechanism so people can still get into the courses. And I've made sure that I've made the early bird price reachable. So if you make a decision early, then you're not having to pay at the other price. But, you know, you wait, then you can do a payment plan and still have the ability to get in there. So I'm excited. I'm excited about it. I was nervous when I started again because I hadn't trained for like a long time. But it was fun, and I've enjoyed putting my spin on the material, my special sauce, the Lizzy sauce on it. In fact, I'll give you a joke. I was in a meeting today, and somebody saying, "Oh yeah, we went and got training, but it was so boring, and I wasn't even able to hardly stay awake." So, but he talked about the training he did with you, and he was like, "You need to bring her in. She's the one that we need, because oh man, it was amazing. And she helped me to do this." And he came back and he changed all this stuff here. And I was like, wow, okay. So in that moment, there was a validation for me that who I am and how I do it works. And it got me this particular opportunity that I'm in right now. So you have got to still believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. You don't have to be like anybody else. You got to do you, because your biometric print on what you do is going to call your tribe, the people who align with you. So be you. Don't let anybody try to form you into something else. Be you, because that's what works. So the way I deliver Lizzy style with my brand of how I deliver, it works for people. It don't have to work for everybody, but it works for the people it's supposed to work for. And that's the good thing. So if you be you, your people can come.
Yes, indeed. And the people have come. Well, I would like to say on behalf of Agile in Color and I see a hand up. Wait, let me go get Jamel. You have a question before we wrap?
Nicole, can you hear me?
I can.
First of all, thank you for putting this together. I'm sorry I'm not on screen. As a technologist, I have technology problems. So a question for Lizzy, and I guess I can take this answer off air because I know we're short on time. As you see this transitioning from, obviously there's still a lot of people that are being introduced to Scrum and Agile methodologies. As someone that's been doing this for quite some time, I am seeing, and we are starting to transition more to lean and Kanban-ish type of methodologies, more lean manufacturing, because anybody can throw a Kanban board up and say you're doing Kanban, but more around the lean manufacturing principles and how they kind of align to product and software development. Have you guys considered or have seen anything in that space recently? And are you guys thinking about things like that?
I always teach, whenever I teach, I always teach the lean principles because they're part of what we do. I've always said it's the unsaid things. We don't tend to talk about the fact that we think that way and that what we're doing is influenced strongly and built around that. So even if we don't call it out as lean, our frameworks are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So they wouldn't take away from an environment that was doing lean.
Yeah.
So the principles, like I said, those principles, empiricism, you're driving, right, to get to that next point so you can get more value to flow.
Absolutely.
And trying to find where that waste is, which is why we use our small time boxes, is so that we don't end up banking huge amounts of waste. Our waste is small, and hopefully it will be extremely visible so we can do something about it and not carry it with us into that next sprint that we make. So that's why I think for me, there are times I've practiced Scrum and not called it that. I've done what I call stealth, right? We call it by the names. But I practiced the things that were in there, and none of them counter lean. They're thorough compliment because they're birthed out of lean.
Absolutely. Thank you for your answer, Lizzy.
We're running short on time. I see another hand up real quick because I want to be respectful of people's time. Jamessa?
Hello. I promise I'll be really quick. Hello. Yes. Thank you so much. Hi. Sorry about that. Let me switch this around. So my question is so looking at the market and the market ebbs and flows, what would your advice, since you have been in this space a long time, for those who are in the Agile, like Scrum Masters and things, how can they show their value in terms of dollars so that when short-term things like recessions come along, when executives have to make decisions, they can say, hey, no, we need, these people are valuable because of X, Y, Z, since they're looking at outputs instead of outcomes, which is what I'm learning that Agile and Scrum is all about. So how would you advise Scrum Masters in thinking in terms of revenue, cost saving, things like that? Hopefully that made sense.
Make impact. We talk about return on investment. Every encounter that you have, make impact. So everybody remembers that they spoke to you, and they remember something that you said, and they remembered how you impacted them, and they remember what you showed them to do. Begin to make impact. Because sometimes impact doesn't pay you today, but it can pay you tomorrow. Right? It can be a call that you get later on. And make sure you keep upskilling, because whoever goes in or whoever's leading, they're not really looking at people. They're looking just to cut cost. Right? It's something for dividends. It's something for board members. It's about, we just got to cut costs. So cut this. Right? It's not really strategic. Does that make sense? The quickest thing when you're being pushed that you need to show money on a balance sheet, the fastest way to get money on the balance sheet is to let people go. It's just numbers. But if you make impact, people won't forget you. So I don't tend to go proving you need Scrum, you need da-da-da-da-da. No. But what I'm going to make you remember is the last conversation we had. I made you think about something. I left you with something. And that's why it's important to be making impact.
Thank you.
You know, that's a good question. That's something I need to go sit around and think on.
Marinate on it.
Yeah, I need to marinate on that.
We can marinate on it online. We can continue the conversation there, right? All right. And I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And I appreciate the questions. I think we should keep the questions going online. That's why we need to connect. So definitely you can connect with Lizzy online if you want to ask her further questions. So what are all your handles, Lizzy?
So you can find me, Your Agile Lady, LinkedIn, social media. You can find me on I Am Lizzy Morris as well. I have that handle too. So you can go I Am Lizzy Morris or Your Agile Lady and you will find me. So you can DM me. And I'm getting much better on the DMing. So I'm on TikTok, right? Or Agile Lady and I Am Lizzy Morris. So you can find me and I will respond.
All right. You heard it here first, everybody. So with that, I would like to say on behalf of Agile in Color, the Agile in Color team who's here tonight, Kim, Matt, Khadidra, our team in force, we thank you, Lizzy, for sharing your story with us and dropping all those nuggets of advice along the way, because I know they were in there about what aspiring Black Agilists need to do and think about. So thank you for sharing. And we will see you until the next time. So one little thing I'll have to say to Lizzy is that we have anybody who we spotlight, we give you homework. And the homework is that you have to pick the next person that we are going to spotlight. And we alternate between men and women. So you'll have to pick a man that we're going to spotlight for our next Agile in Color Share series. So
Will that come to mind? So I'm gonna
I'll let you think about it. We'll talk.
I'm gonna stew. I'm gonna stew. I'm gonna stew.
We'll commiserate about it and come up, and we will promote it to the ends of the earth for the next one.
Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.